What if I told you the reason you're stuck isn't because you're lazy? What if the endless cycle of snoozed alarms, unfinished tasks, and creeping self-doubt wasn't a flaw in you, but a flaw in what's fueling you? There was a moment when I looked at myself in the mirror and felt completely disconnected from who I knew I could be. I wasn't tired, I was unmotivated. I wasn't busy, I was avoiding. And deep down, I knew something had to change. Because if I didn't figure out how to break this loop, I was going to stay stuck forever. I want to talk to you about something that has truly transformed the way I approach difficult tasks and challenges. For the longest time, I was stuck in a cycle of procrastination, constantly putting things off that I knew I should be doing. My morning started with hitting the snooze button again and again, and the day ahead often felt like an enemy to avoid rather than an opportunity to seize. My to-do list would stare at me, mocking me, while I couldn't muster the energy to tackle anything meaningful. Instead, I'd find myself distracted, checking email, social media, or doing anything that wasn't really important. By the end of the day, I'd be disappointed in myself, knowing that I had not accomplished what I was capable of. If you've ever felt like that, you're not alone. The truth is, procrastination isn't the issue here. It's not that we're lazy or lacking in potential. The problem lies in motivation, or more specifically, the kind of motivation we're using to fuel our actions. It's easy to rely on external motivators like money, praise, or fame, but these rewards don't provide lasting power. They may give us a temporary boost, but they quickly fade, leaving us with little more than a fleeting sense of satisfaction. To truly get things done, to push through the tough moments, we need a different kind of fuel, a fuel that comes from within. This is where intrinsic motivation comes in. Intrinsic motivation is the force that drives us to do things for their own sake. When we're motivated intrinsically, we're doing something because it's interesting, meaningful, or because it allows us to grow and improve. This type of motivation is like a renewable energy source, one that keeps giving back over time, instead of running out like external rewards do. It compounds, building momentum that leads to more focus, higher productivity, and a greater sense of satisfaction with the work we do. Now, how do we tap into this intrinsic motivation? How do we make it so powerful that we crave doing the hard things that we once avoided? It starts with understanding what motivates us intrinsically. Through years of research and experience, I've learned that there are 5 key intrinsic motivators that fuel us: curiosity, mastery, purpose, autonomy, and the love of the activity itself, which is called autotelic behavior. Let's take a closer look at each of these motivators and how we can tap into them. First, there's curiosity. I remember when I was a student, I was constantly curious about how the brain worked, about consciousness, and about how I could improve my own performance. This curiosity was a powerful force, making me feel excited to learn and dive deeper into my studies. But as time went on, I realized that my curiosity had waned. It wasn't that I stopped being interested in the topics I studied, but the everyday tasks of research and analysis didn't stimulate me the same way anymore. It was then that I discovered that for curiosity to drive us, it needs to be actively nurtured. Curiosity isn't just a passive desire to know, it's an active pursuit of knowledge. It's about exploring, asking questions, and finding the answers that will make a difference. To boost curiosity, I started looking for ways to make the things I was working on more engaging. I sought out new sources of learning, found mentors who could inspire me, and sought out information that was relevant to my goals. And it wasn't just about reading or listening to new ideas, it was about applying that knowledge to my work, testing it, and seeing the results firsthand. That feedback loop, where I could directly see the impact of my learning, became a powerful motivator that pushed me to keep going. Next, we have mastery. Mastery is the drive to continually improve at something, to get better and better over time. Think about the athletes you admire. They don't just practice when they have to, they practice because they're driven by the need to improve, to be better today than they were yesterday. Mastery is what makes us stay focused on long-term growth. It's not about getting the task done, it's about pushing ourselves to get better with every attempt. I'll be honest, this was something I struggled with. For a while, I didn't feel the need to improve my skills in certain areas. But when I shifted my focus to deliberately practicing and learning new techniques, I noticed a change. It was a slow process, but over time, I started to get better at what I was doing, and that improvement became its own reward. Mastery releases dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, and it gives us that sense of accomplishment we're all looking for. It's what keeps us moving forward even when the going gets tough. Then there's autotelic behavior, which is the joy of doing something for its own sake, not for any external reward. Think about a time when you've been so engrossed in an activity that you lost track of time. Whether it's painting, writing, coding, or even exercising, this is the essence of autotelic behavior. It's about being fully immersed in the activity itself, not worrying about the outcome, but enjoying the process. For me, this was a huge revelation. I realized that if I could find activities that I loved for their own sake, I could tap into a deep well of motivation that didn't rely on external factors. It wasn't about getting a promotion or earning money, it was about finding joy in the work itself. If you're struggling with this, try to identify activities that you truly enjoy, things that make you lose track of time. It doesn't matter if it's something related to your job or a personal hobby. What matters is that you're fully present in the activity. Once you start finding those activities, you'll notice that your motivation will naturally increase. The fourth motivator is purpose. When you have a sense of purpose, you're not just working for the paycheck or the accolades. You're working because what you do matters, because it contributes to something greater than yourself. Without purpose, work can feel like a never-ending grind. But when there's purpose, every challenge becomes an opportunity to make a difference, to contribute to something meaningful. For me, when I started my business and began doing work that aligned with my values, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I was no longer just going through the motions, I was actively contributing to something I believed in. To strengthen your sense of purpose, start by identifying what really matters to you. What are the causes or missions that resonate with you on a deep level? Once you've identified that purpose, make it a part of your daily work. Connect each task you do to that larger goal, and watch how your motivation shifts. Purpose can make even the toughest tasks feel more worthwhile. Finally, we come to autonomy. Autonomy is the ability to control what, how, and when you do your work. It's the freedom to choose your projects, to decide how to approach them, and to have control over your time. When you feel trapped in a role where someone else controls everything, motivation can be hard to find. But when you have autonomy, you feel like you're in charge of your own destiny. If autonomy is something you lack, there are ways to bring it into your life. One of the simplest ways is to start taking ownership of the tasks you have control over. You don't have to completely change your job or career overnight. Instead, focus on the areas where you can exercise control and make choices. Over time, this sense of autonomy will grow, and you'll start to feel more empowered in your work. Each of these motivators, curiosity, mastery, autotelic behavior, purpose, and autonomy, works together to create a powerful cycle of intrinsic motivation. The more you nurture each of these areas, the more driven you become. And when you're in this cycle of motivation, you're not just getting things done, you're thriving. You're entering a state of flow, where your mind and body are fully engaged in the task at hand, and you feel like you could accomplish anything. The best part is that as you experience more flow, your intrinsic motivation grows, which leads to even more flow. It's a self-reinforcing loop that fuels your success. I know this from personal experience. I've seen how unlocking these intrinsic motivators can change your life, and I've witnessed it in others as well. Whether it's in business, athletics, or the arts, people who tap into these motivators are the ones who achieve greatness. They're the ones who are constantly improving, who are driven by a passion for their work, and who find joy in the process, not just the end result. If you want to break free from procrastination and start accomplishing things you once thought were impossible, the key is to find your intrinsic motivation. Start by identifying which of these 5 motivators is most lacking in your life, and then take steps to nurture it. Over time, you'll notice a shift in how you approach your work and your life. You'll find that the hard tasks aren't so difficult anymore, because your motivation will be stronger than ever before. So, take a moment to reflect on your own life. What motivates you? What drives you to take action? Tap into that, and watch as your motivation transforms into something unstoppable.